it's a home crowd, but you never slow down when it's sold out. I'll be ready for it, I can take it home. When you see me in the frame, I'm a Van Gogh. Watch the heads turn, see the sky burn. Catch you looking at my style, but you'll never learn. When it's all done, when it's all said, I'll be dancing in the stars like a silhouette. I'll be dancing in the stars like a silhouette. Woo! What's good? I'll be dancing in the stars like a silhouette. I'll be dancing in the stars like a silhouette. I'll be dancing in the stars like a silhouette.
This afternoon, the upward pressure for drivers is high. There are just 2 chances left to score points in the pursuit of a pro license. Today, the top open-wheel hopefuls may have their biggest challenge yet. This is round 6 of the GP Turn Racing iRacing qualifying series for the virtual Belle Isle Street Circuit here at FTF.GG. Hello everyone, my name is Justin Prince, alongside me is Joey Atterbury for pro qualifier coverage for the Grand Prix Turn Racing iRacing series. Altus may have set the tempo in Belgium, but today, it's not as simple. It's a street circuit. It's a tight racetrack, Joey. Today's action could potentially be some of the most dramatic yet, with how much attrition that can come into play here.
Absolutely. We are here at Detroit, and looking back at the season as a whole, we're here round number 6 of 7, and Detroit, like you mentioned it's a very dangerous place here. Although the drivers, they've already worked through a handful of road courses. They saw the big curveball of Pocono, the oval, just a couple weeks ago, and kind of back into the rhythm of things. You said we're at Spa last week, and now the only street circuit of the schedule.
Let's talk about how the standings are faring out, because things are looking fairly tight as well after last time out. Carlos Fideloso, 577-point advantage over the cut. Looks very solid, as well as Marcos Nunez. Leo Bazika is amongst those you can throw in that mix. But that cut line is also tight. Jacob Bahrain, who made his top foot debut last week, a tough race. However, because the drop got factored in, Kalen Chin now is 88 points back. Jacob Reed is the first one out currently.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay attention to that cut line with only today and then next week remaining. People like Kalen Chin, Jacob Reed, they got to count on the results, and you got to start here at Detroit. If you don't have a good day here today, you're really on the back foot going into the last round. But also, don't count out the people more up front, because if they have a bad day, that could drop them into that potential cutoff area.
And it could get interesting for drivers like Pablo Esves, because he's amongst those who actually joined some of those drivers underneath the cut, like Giorgio. He actually announced that just today over to Wave Italy. We'll see if there's an uptick today, 145 points above the cut line entering today. But speaking of Belle Isle, it's talking about a street circuit in this case, because when it comes to here in Detroit, Michigan, for 20 years, drivers and car classes of all types have raced at this 984-acre island and state park that will be seen here today. With it being just 4 miles away from the automotive capital of the world's heart of downtown, this 13-turn circuit you'll see here today features multiple types of spots for attrition, multiple points for potential sends, but also potential contact. That heartbreaking turn into turn 3, very memorable for many possible sends, but also that uber-tight fountain section. In our words, it's not going to be easy to keep it clean today, let alone potentially in the full rhythm.
I think when you look at the Belle Isle Street Circuit as a whole, there's a few passing opportunities, primarily, like you said, down into turn 3, but really the character of the track is the bumps around here, and also those walls are incredibly close. I would say some of the biggest bumps on the racetrack, turn 2, always a famous one with the pace car losing control there way back all those years ago. And then also through the fountain section, like you were saying, a very technical area, but huge bumps. Also, stay away from the giant apex curbs through the fountain. Those will really mess up your day in these cars.
And there's a lot of weight to consider for today's race, too, because in the natural flow of a pro qualifier series, you may see some drop-off. How about today's projected strength of field for the top split? 8,065. In our words, there is the potential of it being the highest point tally of this entire qualifying series. In our words, you do not want this to be your drop.
No, not at all. We had kind of the opposite situation at Pocono where the race wasn't worth as many points. Well, here at Belle Isle, it's truly worth a ton of points. So if you're trying to make up any of those gaps, maybe if you're on that bubble of the cut line, you might be able to just kind of nudge yourself over just simply because the strength of the field. And it's impressive, that strength of field. We are going to be in for a heck of a race.
And as the drivers get situated and put down some qualifying laps around the streets of Detroit, it's time to get ready to approach that set track. On the call for today's round, joining myself at the broadcast booth, is DJ Clark. DJ, welcome to Motown, and welcome to the streets of the Belle Isle Island.
Indeed, Motor City ready to absolutely turn it up here as we take a look at drivers making their way around for this qualifying lap. Whoa, Simone Maria Marcheno there taking a very aggressive line with the curbing. And I've got to say here, Justin, qualifying going to be very, very crucial around this Belle Isle circuit. You can get past here, specifically going down into turn 3 is a good overtaking opportunity, but this is a street circuit. This is going to be qualifying dependent.
So far, 1 minute, 6 seconds, the pace being set by the top qualifiers. Gal Vallejo over Michael Gianni. Jose Soria, Zappy Ross amongst the top 5. How about Simone Maria Marcheno to the top of the board by a tenth of a second? These times expected to fly quickly. Just 2 laps to be able to be put on the board in the course of 8 minutes in session, 5 minutes remaining. But as mentioned, a smaller grid size today, 14 cars in the field. That's not to say this field's going to be extremely difficult to be able to win. After all, some of your top drivers all season are here in this race today.
Yeah, some of the big names are here ready to turn up. As you can see them there, Marcheno, Valero, Gianni, Soria, Ross, all of them ready to be able to put it down on the line here. And Justin, look at these gaps. First to 10th, only separated by about 7/10 of a second. That shows you just how good the competition is here.
It's been that type of way when it comes to some of the speed with Altus as we take a look at some of those Apex cars. It's Racing Team Machine of Valero, top of the board. How about a pickup of at least half a second? But Soria and Espes top him by a tenth and 2/10 respectively. Soria top of the board.
Great time there, a 105.949. That should be enough to be able to lock into at least a top row position here at this point, but with still drivers coming around on the lap, anything can happen.
Did have a quick discussion about this with Ben Fuller from ART last time out. He did mention that they felt the qualifying pace wasn't as quick compared to some of the others, but the race pace had been near identical to the top teams all season. Going to see if that race pace holds up today. That's usually amongst those trying to set themselves a time off track last time by. So the 7, one of just 3 drivers yet to set a time. Daniel Civichabo, Marco Sanfilippo yet to set times either.
Yeah, still waiting here for them. And remember, they've got 8 minutes to be able to set down this time, so this may be a little bit of a strategic gamble for them, maybe trying to wait until track conditions cool a little bit. It's a very toasty 103 degrees Fahrenheit out on the track right now, and they may be hoping for just a little bit of cloud cover to come in and drop that by a degree or 2.
There's a look at those track conditions, and as someone who is based currently around the Motor City, it's important to mention that is very much true here today, as there goes the 7 into the wall, and troubles indeed for the Drago Racing Machine. So that's a major trouble spot, put them at the back of the field. Daniel Civichabo currently still setting times. Sanfilippo not coming out for qualifying, it appears. So some troubles indeed for someone who needed some good runs. Civichabo, bottom of the board, a 106.9.
And it looks like that's going to be his day done and dusted here for the moment. And crucial area there that you talked about, there was such a turnaround there going through that fountain section, as you and Joey talked about, super bumpy through there, low speed, so the downforce on the car not playing out nearly as much as it could. That's going to be a danger zone for this entire race.
So about 2 minutes before drivers get themselves going for the end of qualifying into the starting grid for today's action here at Belle Isle. What are your thoughts about this racetrack? Because it's brought so many exciting races in the sim, but it's also a track that, at least from my perspective, we've seen plenty of trouble being able to make passes.
I'm a big fan of it, Justin. I mean, the long run from turn 2 down into turn 3 does promote some good overtaking, certainly funnels up there into that narrow area, so you've got to be very confident about it. I've also seen some moves going down into turn 7, but at the end of the day, this is still a street circuit, so it is going to punish you. It is going to be very difficult, but as street circuits go, I think this is one of the best.
We'll see indeed. Let's take a look at your starting grid as drivers have now gone to the command to make their way to the starting grid with the 7 closing out qualifying. Jose Soria up on the pole, the only driver in the 105 bracket today. Pablo Espez with a brand new team moving over to Wave Italy, starting second, their best starting position as an organization in this qualifying series. Gal Vallejo and Simone Maria Marcheno, the top 4. Marcos Nunez and Michael Gianni, the top 6. Back in the edge of the top 10, Aaron Faziquez alongside Matt Emery, Manuel Cubo Torres back in 9th. Xavi Ross started off with some early speed in qualifying, but dropped to 10th at the end. Kalen Chin, the teammate to Pablo Espez, in 11th. Daniel Shibishaba, the last driver to set a time, in 12th. And no times being set by Jakub Majowski as well as Marco Sanfilippo. 14 drivers in this top split today, but the intensity level still expect to be high. Strategy could be a major thought process. Remember, last time out, drivers going against the grain. It really worked out for the driver of Nunez going on the softs to rocket his way to the front at Spa.
Well, and I think here today, considering the narrow confines of the circuit, look for some of those alternate pit strategies to play out, whether it's pitting early or pitting late, getting yourself into some clean air where you're able to run by yourself. That could be the difference here today.
Few more drivers making their way to their starting grid as we get set to go racing 38 laps. Most drivers outside of Sanfilippo so far selecting to start on the medium tires. In fact, Sanfilippo is the only one who has that distinction. We're glad to have you with us here on FTF.GG. It's the GP Turn Racing iRacing Qualifying Series. Round 6 from Detroit. We're underway from Michigan. Oh, and already near contact. 3 wide down to the first turn. Darting around the right side, Matt Emery avoiding the major contact. Marcheno to the point. A couple drivers bounce off the wall as they make their way to turn 3 for the first time.
And that was all as a result there of Soria getting a terrible run off of the line. Simone Maria Marcheno absolutely pouncing on it. Espez holding in position. Gianni and Emery around the outside. They're moving their way around that slower number 11 machine. Just what they didn't want to see at the beginning.
Emery, Gianni, and Marcheno gaining 3/4 spots at least off the launch. And just like that, the Altus machine controlling the tempo. Espez going to be the major interesting mark in this early stage, making that switch over. Especially what we know with Espez long run. We'll see what he can do. The only driver in that top 8 to hold on to his starting spot in the first 2 sectors.
Yeah, very much so. And again, that's because of all the bottleneck that was caused behind Soria here at this point. But Espez going to try to hold on to the back of Marcheno as he runs here as they go. But he's got to be careful. That gap is already 0.5 of a second.
Smoke puff in the back. That's Manuel Cuba Torres. That is not a good sign. He needed a good run after having a poor run last time. That may be a drop, a broken wing.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. That car very slowly moving there, coming around turn 13 or so, and that's a pretty high-speed right-hander as you try to apply the throttle coming around there. But look at this. Pablo Espez listening to our commentary here, Justin, closing in on the back of Marcheno. He is not letting him go.
And this is going to be the major hard part now, being able to break away from the draft train that's all been so prevalent throughout the season. But for Torres, the season taking a huge, huge hurdle here in this race today. The 12 car into the barrier. It was amongst those passes at the back of the field going wrong. There was some side-by-side building up before this.
Yeah, took a look there down into turn 11. That's a little bit of a scary place to try to make an overtake. There you can see coming up from behind, forced too wide, and it almost looked like there that just didn't turn in going through turn 12.
Yeah. And this also just happening seconds ago. This is Xavi Ross, the driver who passed him, joining soon into the wall. And that's an immediate DNF. 2 drivers already out of 14.
All right, attrition coming to play here at this point early on in the running. Not when any of these drivers wanted to see, but that is the peril of running on a street circuit. If you're running at Spa, for example, you set a tire off into the grass, it may cost you a couple of tenths of a second. You do that here at the streets of Detroit at Belle Isle, and it's going to cost you a race.
So still, it's Marcheno up at the point, controlling the tempo of the early going. But it's Espes in his first race with a brand new team. He joined this organization just a couple days ago. Announced on August the 7th he had been leaving and planning to, and had done so, to leave at 70 Racing after 2+ years being their top driver. Now trying to see if he can qualify with this organization right in the final couple rounds of the season. He is amongst those above the drop and amongst those holding on to the draft. You see him for the back end, 3/10 back.
Yeah, now he's not really going to have an opportunity here going down into turn 1. This is really too fast of a right-left complex, but careful there as you apply the throttle coming up and over the bump over turn 2. That's what Joey talked about at the beginning of the broadcast. You're building up speed there at this point, starting to close in. Looks like we've had a little bit of action behind as well.
That was involving Emery and Soria. They've held on to spots, though, still keeping it on Espes. But this aero wash effect can be pretty substantial with these Delara IRL ones at a track like this. You have to basically pressurize a mistake almost.
Yeah, indeed. You've got to just keep applying that pressure there. Keep seeing if you can get a driver to just step over the line and maybe make the most infinitesimal of mistakes there. And a good run from Soria right now, just putting that pressure onto the back of Emery. You saw a little bit of a mistake coming down into turn 7, just a little bit off the line. And those little micro mistakes, that's what's going to cost you positions here at a race like this.
Matt Emery keeping an eye on in that Veloce car. It was talked about a little bit, looking to make some adjustments for this week. So far, holding on to that main draft. They had lost the main draft in the first couple laps at Spa.
Yeah, and the draft not going to be as crucial as it was around Spa here at this point, but there you can see, poking in the back, Soria just trying to be able to make it, and now going for the move down into turn 3.
Second time trying it, second time not succeeding. Jose Soria back in the line, they have to go. Now Valero still also back there. Marcos Nunez also taking some pokes. He has Bezikas right behind. Had to wonder with them losing so much track position early if they elected to go a little bit heavier on the fuel for the long-term strat.
And that's a strategy that we've seen out play plenty of times around here. Oh, big clobber of the curbs there for that Altus Esports machine. They're going to keep it together, but you can't be too aggressive with those. Again, coming through this fountain section, that's where you're going to lose those contact patches with the asphalt. And when that happens, when you try to apply the throttle, the car can absolutely just get squirrely underneath you.
Just seeing that with some of the drivers slipping those back tires here, and this pavement can be a little bit of a cheese grater at times. Emery starting to lose that grip to the point. Soria looking to make the move. These two have now lost touch to the main pack. Soria this time on the outside with the squeeze. Emery with the preferred line, however, able to pinch him back off.
And they've got to be very careful about this. Gil Valero and Marcos Nunez behind them, absolutely ready to pounce. If this battle keeps on, we are going to see these full 5 cars. Let's include Aaron Vasquez in that here at this point. This is going to become a 5-car battle as here comes another look from Soria.
Now a dive, and this time it works. Jose Soria, an open wheel specialist, up to the pack. Keep in mind, Soria is not amongst those inside the top 40 or the top 20. Emery is amongst them, who is up by a couple hundred points and looks to be in the safe zone, possibly if he secures a solid run today.
Yeah, could be on for a good run. 6 laps down, about to be 7 here at this point. That still means there's plenty of time for this to play out. One of the perils of running around a circuit like this is you cannot let your guard down even for the merest of seconds. Seeing what they're going to be able to do, Emery being 5th in the championship, that's going to change the way they drive a little bit. They're going to be a little bit more cautious, not wanting to throw points away.
Well, right as he made that point, there was a block there from Emery. Valero not able to make that pass. That almost speaks to the importance of that track position we also emphasized at the top of the show.
Yeah, very much so. If you're able to get that run, if you've got the good run coming through 1 and 2, you cannot squander it by backing off a little bit. You've got to go full bore and full attack.
Now a hard break. Valero nearly hitting the back wing. Still nowhere to go yet as Emery slides the tires. And keep in mind, when it comes to Valero, he's also showed some good speed throughout this campaign, has had some points of attrition, yes, but there's a reason he's amongst those top 10 in this series standing so far. With some of those Academy drivers in particular as well you can throw into the mix that have done really well for the Apex Racing Team group.
Yeah, very, very much so. Certainly punching above their weight here, I would have to say, and really putting on a good spectacle. Losing a little bit of time here as they run down through 1 and 2, but look at this, Justin. Jose Soria there putting in the fastest lap of the race at the last time of asking with a 106.80. He is off like a bullet here, having passed Emery.
Still no move from Valero, but might have a bit of a problem for Marcos Nunez. He just clattered a little bit of the curbing, trying to find a way around both of these cars. There he is in the back end. He made contact with that right side pod to the curbing.
He's got to be careful about that. A little bit of damage here and there. It's not going to affect him too much. This isn't a super aero-dependent track. A lot more mechanical grip needed around here, so he'll be able to get away with a little bit of a scuff. But if he does that and makes a consistent run out of it, he's going to find himself in real trouble.
And the more they fight, the more this brings the other packs back into it. Shuzki, Shibishabo, Chin had all lost about a second plus to this group. They're quickly closing back up. Now another charge. Nunez forced to lift. Kind of tell that the Altus cars want to go. Everybody wants to pass by Emery.
Yeah, he's the cork in the bottle, and look at that weave. Big defense coming down into turn 3. That's going to put Valero offline. Oh, maybe a little bit of contact there between Valero and Nunez.
Second time, bits of contact to parts of the track. This time for Nunez to parts of the car. No wing damage, though, to the back end or the front wing for the 4 car. And this time, Nunez does scrape the wall. Nunez, 3 bits of contact to parts of his car in 2 laps.
And that's the kind of thing that you cannot be doing around here. You cannot time in and time out be making that contact. The carbon fiber on these cars will start to wear, it will start to go away, and you will start to get the full effect of that damage model.
You have to say, though, when it comes to a track like this, Belle Isle, always so picturesque, always so difficult to be able to navigate around, as we emphasized, but also it's kind of a city staple because it's just in the shadows of downtown Detroit. You have Windsor, Ontario on the other side of the river, the Detroit River. Plenty of intensity brought about whenever you hear the sounds of these types of cars around this track.
Oh, it's absolutely perfect. A picturesque venue, and now preserved on the sim. As there you see another move by Valero coming down into turn 3, and again a very aggressive move into 4.
Emery does not want anybody to pass. For reference, Soria was let go by Jenny up the straight. So still, no one able to find a way around Emery. This is the difference on playing cautious and playing aggressive.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head on that. Emery in a very much defensive mindset around here, not trying to push, probably trying to save a little bit of fuel, save a little bit of tires. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Emery on a longer run here in this first stint of the race.
They've backed up all the way, meanwhile, the Altus cars to that 3rd pack. Shibishabo and Chin at the tail, the 7 car. Just trying to find a way forward. And they're coming in, an early pit call. And does that equal the damage from Marcos Nunez, as that really held up his own teammate?
Yeah, it certainly did. And there you see a little bit of side-by-side action as they come off of the corner, trying to be able to duke themselves out a little bit, trying to sort themselves out. I think that's a combination there in the pit lane of that contact, as well as Nunez just getting a little bit frustrated with being stuck in line there and trying to go for a little bit of that clean air that we talked about.
Can't confirm front wing damage did appear on that last time by for Nunez. That coming from some of the curbing possibly. So Nunez has had to make a wing change and switch to the hard compound. This may be now a 2-stop. It could be a tight 1-stop.
Yeah, it'll be very, very tight here for Nunez. We're going to have to see how it plays out. Now, tire degradation around this circuit is a little bit different because you're running on concrete for a large majority of it. That does mean that it is a more abrasive track surface, but it's not going to retain grip nearly as much as other circuits will. So it's really a double whammy in terms of that.
Off his eyes, 2-3 tenths, and now another pit stop. More troubles for some drivers. Juski electing to back out of that main pack after 11 laps on the run.
And I think, again here, Justin, this is a call coming in for clean air more than anything else, as there Vasquez takes a look on the back of Sivi Sabo, just trying to see if he's able to get by. I think all of this bottling up in front, kind of expected around a street circuit, but they're just calling it a day and saying, let's try our fortunes here on an alternate strategy.
Hard tires taken, by the way, 8 seconds in the box. Chevy Chapo holding up in front of Fazekas. Fazekas wants some of his positions back up the inside. Well done. Chevy Chapo lets him on by. Kalen Chin now groups him to the back end as Fazekas now into the wall. The 3 car with contact on the right side.
Oh, gonna have a little bit of a run there, trying to get a look at the car to see if there's any visible damage on it. It doesn't appear to be, and the speed coming off of turn 11 would indicate that he's okay for the moment, but again, some very hair-raising moments.
Marcheno, for reference, is leading by more than 2 seconds. The other Altus cars did not get the same type of launch. Pablo Espes, meanwhile, has fallen off that 2 seconds. Right back to Soria. Soria's the quickest car on the track. It's not even close.
Yeah, he is turning in consistent laps here after consistent laps. Everybody running in those 107. Soria, the only one able to go down into the 106 range, running a 106.88 at the last time of asking.
Still no chance to be able to pass yet. But it's been incredible what Soria's been able to do as this run's gone on. Into the wall that time, able to keep it straight forward, but Soria has been running on average 2 tenths quicker than the leader over the past 5 laps.
Well, let's not forget here that Soria qualified this car on pole position, and it was really just a bad start that put Jose off to a bad beginning of the race, seeing him fall back down through the order. So we know he's got the pace here to compete. I think now the biggest question is how quickly is he able to dispatch Espes and put his sights ahead on Simone Maria Marcheno.
Soria with the massive speed boost with the draft. Espes gives him the space. Jose Soria now up to a 2nd position. 1 spot back of his original starting position. And all this allowed Gianni to be able to hold on to Espes in that battle for critical points.
Yeah, all those points there that they are thinking about. And now here comes the question, how quickly will Soria be able to close on up on Marcheno? And just how is this going to affect strategy here? With Simone Maria Marcheno out in the lead, kind of able to dictate their own pace. But with Jose Soria closing up behind, that may change the way they're thinking about it here for Altus Esports.
We already mentioned 2 drivers elected to come in. 1 not scheduled, 1 appearing to be scheduled in terms of getting on the hard compound. Sanfilippo, remember, did start on the hard compound of tires in this race, DJ. The tough part is that hard compound, in terms of the average pace, is 2 seconds slower right now, including for those who just pit.
Yeah, and that's going to come back to bite. The flip side of that, though, is that they're going to have to make that change. And as we've seen over the course of this year, the soft tire's not really preferred whatsoever. So everybody's going to have to do a longer run here on these on the hard tires. It's just a matter of when you're going to take them.
Still expecting drivers to go an hour 7 laps or so before they reach the top end of the estimated tank today. Espes, meanwhile, back to Gianni. And Michael Gianni, Very confident in terms of how he's been running, as mentioned. Looking to try and make that dream come true of making the World Championship run. He's had the consistency throughout this championship to do it. It's just a matter of building up points as there goes Sanfilippo to a stop of the runoff for a tow.
Oh, tough run there for Marco Sanfilippo. Just not a good day out here, and that's going to see him fall farther behind that cut line here at this point.
So Marco Sanfilippo, who was 196 points back entering the day, now out of the race, again on his own. Hit the wall.
Yeah, contact with the wall. I wonder if that bent the toe link there, and he just knew that there was damage going down into the corner, and that's why Sanfilippo decided to pull it off to the side.
He's now out of the race. Espes, by the way, dropping outside of the top 30 with Johnny making the pass just as we finished up that replay view in turn 3. And this has been a tough thing throughout the season for the Wave Italy cars. They are known for having some open wheel specialties in terms of their team builders and terms of team drivers. And it's a major difference between the two drivers in their cars today in this split. Espes still in the top 5. Kale and Chin is still in 9th, the last car yet to pit.
Yeah, bit of a difference from what we've seen here today, and that really comes down, once again, I think, to the mechanical setup of these cars. This is a different circuit compared to everything that we've run. I mean, you think of Spa-Francorchamps, you think of the other traditional road racing venues that we've been to, and it's all about aerodynamic grip. Around here, it's all mechanical. It's all slower speed corners, and you've really got to fine-tune those dampers to make sure they're right.
It's such a technical thing to be able to consider with this car. Meanwhile, speaking of drivers having to make their way through the technical corners, Emery just trying to slip and slide in that purple and black machine, slipping back into Galvaleo's reach.
Yeah, coming back into that question here at about under 0.5 of a second here for Valero, and for Gale at this point, going to want to try to move up through the order. It's not been a good day here for the number 2, down 3 spots since the drop of the green flag. Emery, on the other hand, reverse fortunes of that, up 3.
And when you think Veloce, you think fun personalities in part because of some of the parts of their media group, but now they'll have to think about pit strategy. Just as they try and turn towards fun, Espes says it's time to turn towards the pit lane. Window is open.
Window is indeed open at about the halfway point here in the race. He's going to bring that car on in. You can see a couple of the cars that are already damaged here. Going to get 4 fresh tires and some fuel here put in the car. Comes to rest perfectly on the box.
So Espes already getting onto the hard compounded tires. Quickest stop of the race, 7 seconds flat. Was just about to say. In terms of Veloce, lots of media personalities, lots of content creators a part of that group, making their ventures into real-world racing in some circumstances. Actually, some of their drivers taking part in charity events in the past month during this series. Trying to really put a staple into the iRacing platform as they look to venture into this side of the sim.
Yeah, very much so, and it's a welcome addition here to the world of iRacing to see such a storied name like that be able to come on in here at this point. We are very happy to welcome them, and I, for one, am very excited to see what this team is going to be able to do coming into the iRacing side of things.
Yeah, they want those that keep very busy in terms of anything that has 4 tires and a wing on it, while also having some real-world experience built in these days. Calvin Chin, by the way, has dunked into the pit lane, so Wave Italy appears to have scheduled to split this race near directly in half, just about halfway through the race already. Just like that, Chin onto the hard set of compound tires, leaving half the field yet to come down in the pit lane. Still have to say, though, in terms of the complexion for the championship, Valero, you have to say, is having a really good race after that. Such a bumpy start. Up in the top 5 currently.
Yeah, and that's going to be really crucial there for them. Now, remember, he's down in 8th place in the championship, about 149 points above that cut line here at this point. And for Valero, it's all about just building in that safety cushion going into the final round of the season, making sure that you feel comfortable in the cut line to not have any problems going into that last round.
And this time, Bit of a fake out as Emery goes into the pit lane. Emery working with Luke Pennington up in the box once more today. Ready to switch onto the hard set of tires, leaving 6 remaining to come down to the pit lane. For reference, Espes still the first of those who have pit. 37 seconds back of the leader, the Delta about 27 seconds. We'll see if Valero can pass on the overcut.
Let's see if he's able to make it work here at this point, bringing his way around right now. It does look like in and out and on the way, and no, that is a big gain.
Pablo Espes has fallen off on those hard set of tires. 1:08.9 last time by. Matt Emery with that overcut, gaining 2 seconds. And that may now explain the strategy, at least in the onset, for the Altus machine of Fazikez. If you can go longer than that estimate and have to limit the time of the hards, guess what? You gain a lot of time per lap on that. Even on the long run, the fall off is still a second quicker on the mediums.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that, Justin. I'm not going to lie. I would have expected that the longer life of the hards would be able to go and we'd see a little bit more of a fall off on the mediums, but that's clearly not true today, as now Michael Janney brings that car down into pit lane from P5.
So we'll see how far that overcut works for a couple drivers. Taking a look at Fazikez. Despite some of the early troubles, it seems, in the aero wash, now he's found a little bit of clean air on that front wing, at least an air pocket. Just able to keep the flow that we've kind of expected from these cars this season.
Well, and, we often talk about how a street circuit tends to break up that rhythm a little bit, but if you can find a good rhythm and a good flow around a street circuit like Belle Isle, it does have that natural progression of corners. It's not a lot of 90-degree rights, 90-degree lefts. There is a good flow to the way things build out, and so at this point in the race, you're just trying to keep yourself going around and keep locked in on that rhythm.
Soria, by the way, in this time by. Chano Wabansto's continuing to push ahead. Fazikez also joining in with Valero, so that leaves just a couple drivers yet for service. In fact, just the one Marcheno to yet to get service. Johnny, by the way, has cycled in front of Emery and Espes, so the race is on to see who holds on to the top 3.
Yep, here they go as your leaders now come down into pit lane. Soria, Valero, Velasquez, and Civi Sabo all out and released here at this point. Janney coming around right now. It does look like Janney's going to be able to jump a few of them up into third.
The 3 not able to jump ahead, though, of the 9, so Emery up to 5th. The 2-lap undercut, able to at least maintain positions. Valero has picked up at least a second over this pack.
It's absolutely incredible running this pit strategy, coming into perfection here at this point. But look at this battle. Emery, is there your leader, Marcheno, coming down into pit lane.
Marcheno looking for his first win of the season, has had lots of stretches of bad luck, has had lots of competitions for the podium, but now a chance to be able to come away with a victory today. Here's a look at that main grouping. Still line to stern for the Fountain section. Fazikez right behind Espes. Chevy Shabo also behind in the midst of this draft. Nunez, Chin, as well as the Drago Racing 7 have lost touch. Oh, and some contact to the wall. Chevy Shabo having to come to a stop.
Oh, looked like just took a little bit too much speed coming through 9 and 10. That's a very tricky section of the track, Justin. You've got to be really unloading the steering wheel as you're applying the brake, as we've got a nice little battle here between Vasquez and Espes.
Espes a couple laps in on those tires, and it was really mentioned by Jake Sperry at Spa. It takes a few laps to get the heat into the hard compounded tires. Espes with the up and under. The classic Espes move.
Yep, and Espes trying to go for it here at this point, able to get that move on by. Now, the only question here for Vasquez is if he can get a good run off of turn 6, there may be a little bit of a rebuttal, but Espes able to get that power down and make his way down the back straightaway.
So 10 drivers remaining on the racetrack. Marcheno has cycled ahead by at least 6 seconds, by the way, over Soria and Johnny. Let's take a look, though, at what happened to Chevy Shabo, because he's amongst those in the Academy program who needed another solid run today to be able to help with the points. 109 points up over the cut line. That changes now.
Yeah, just too much speed there coming through 8 and 9. The way you want to try to take that corner is really make it 2 substantial corners, really arc the apex, but just a little bit too much speed taken there. Those rear tires complaining as they went and just absolutely letting out there.
So the Academy cars not having the best of runs today in terms of finishing positions, although they've had the pace. Still keeping an eye, though, on Emery on the tempo as Valero's ripping the paint off the left side pod.
Yeah, scuffing it up here, and it shows you this late on in the race just how much these drivers are still pushing at this point. There is everything still to play for.
You have to think the spotter, though, at the same time, has to be keeping an eye on what we can do, what are we doing better, especially with him being on that 2-lap undercut to be able to build the tire heat up.
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to make sure that that gap isn't going to be too detrimental here at this point. Trying to build that tire, try to build that tire life as much as they can. And then once it comes into good window, that's where things will come into play there a little bit for him.
Here comes the big block. Valero, Emery up the racetrack, bounces off the tire barrier. He's not going to be happy there as Espis drives by. So does the Altus Esports car of Ezekiel's up the right side. Emery picks the trap back up on the defense. Not able to hold on.
No, not able to hold on that, but that is absolutely the worst run of corners that you could possibly imagine there for him. Falling back down through the order. I think I saw a little bit of contact there between himself and Espis up at the front, but I'd have to double check that.
It's a little bit close there on that sequence in terms of how tight it got there. But Emery at least able to hold on to 7th. Oh, and trouble in front. There goes another Altus car with troubles. As Bazinka's up on the barrier. The 3 car has crashed from the top 7.
Oh my goodness gracious, Vasquez making that little bit of a mistake there. Oh, absolutely detrimental. I can't believe it this far on into the race on these harder tires that have a little bit less grip. It's going to come back to bite him.
Let's take a look at a replay. First of all, this is the move involving what happened with Emery. What can you say?
Yeah, there was a little bit of air in between there. Part of the problems of racing on some of the times that happens here on the iRacing simulator, a little bit of netcode as we like to call it, but you've got to be careful, you've got to be cognizant. And then there is the incident that we saw earlier with Vasquez.
And that is a huge hit when it comes to the 3 machine in terms of some of the points. They did have a drop in hand. 418 points entering the day up over the cut. Espis hit the wall too. That was checking up for Espis.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was a simple checkup there, going around through the corner, trying to avoid the damage and down through that ever perilous section.
Espis still going, by the way. Matt Emery, chance to still get up in the top 5. Keep in mind, every single driver really in the top 5 outside of Espis yet to get a top 3 this season. Emery, also you can throw in that mix. So a lot of drivers on hand for their best runs all season.
Yeah, and this is going to be a huge boon to all of them to be able to carry that momentum on forward. Remember, we're still racing here in these championship standings. They're going to want to try to get as many points as possible, but only 12 laps to go. And again, with tire wear starting to settle in, you've got to be more and more careful.
Still have 11 circuits to go, though. Let's keep in mind as you see things breaking down a bit here, the sliding continuing for some. For others, that lead is shrinking because keep an eye on that 11. That interval is dropping compared to the main Altus car, or it was until Soria knocked the paint off the left side pod on cue.
There it is. More damage coming to play here for these drivers. Soria now the one with problems as he's going to try to keep things together. That's going to definitely affect his straight line speed.
Yeah, right now, 2.6 seconds back and closing with how Soria is flying through this field. Now a close bit of contact with how tight the speed needs to be. Remember, 1 lap difference on the tires, but Soria was closing on Marchena right before the caution, or rather right before the pit stop window. is the better phrasing.
Yeah, a little bit there as they go, but now it's going to start to close in a little bit more. Let's see what they're able to do here as they fly down. Keeping an eye on your leader, Simone Maria Marcheno. We're still not seeing those absolutely lightning times from Soria here at this point. Not able to tickle down into the 106s on that hard tire, but crucially a couple hundredths faster than the last lap.
However, Marcheno on the average, 0.4 slower than the 11. Pressure really intensifying. Marchena at the start and finish line right now. Soria with 10 laps to go just crossed the line himself. Is there enough time for Soria to close the gap? Can Soria make this change for the lead to make his way back to the point?
Let's see if he's able to do it. Gap coming across the line here. There are those 106s from Soria. That's what we were talking about a little bit more. I think the race is on here for the lead, Justin.
This has been an incredible run throughout the long runs for Soria today. Marchena, really a veteran when it comes to the sim. Blind upon in terms of his speed, has raced in a lot of different types of cars. Can he hold on with the pressure building? Keep in mind, he's someone who has had to deal with a lot of pressure over his sim racing career in multiple different leagues for this team.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely multiple leagues here at this point. Oh, a little bit of action farther back down into the field. You thought it was all done. It certainly isn't. That's Emery and Nunez going at it.
Once again for the 5th position. Aspes still looking for a solid finish with the organization. Came out with the top 3 in his final run with the Sibian. Can he put Wave Italy into its best position all season in the running order? 9 more circuits for them this time by. Emery looking outside. This time forced to back up, set up the cross-up.
And I think that may have been a little over-eager there from Emery. Still able to get a good run going down into 1 and 2. And now he's going to have to go around the outside there. It looks like Aspes is going to hold that inside line. Able to get it together, and that's going to stay in the same order they went in.
That's just not been working though, DJ. You have to get to the inside to be able to get the pinch off of the exit.
Yeah, you really do, and the defending driver there, and in this case it's Pablo Aspes, knows that. That's why you saw that big move down to driver's right on the circuit.
Once again, showing the nose, this time going driver's right, and there's the squeeze off into the fountain.
Beautiful stuff there from Emery to be able to get that done. Finally able to get the move around and just having to take it at a little bit of an unorthodox area, but brilliantly done.
Keep in mind, Nunez and Chin are right behind them in closing if they go back and forth again. Emery seems to be running off and away. Nunez might be borderline on gas though. He might have to make it the longest out of anyone by far, 28 laps. That could be a bit tight, to say the least.
Could be a little bit tight, and that may be some of the reason why we're seeing him fall back a little bit here, is he may be having to watch his inputs on that right pedal, on the throttle, having to lift and coast a little bit going down into some of these heavier braking zones.
Yeah, and if you have to also factor in, if he had to try and fill up to the very max in the fuel tank, to the very top of the tank, you're at the heaviest point to start. Going to be lighter than some of the others by now, but you also have to still make sure you save, because that estimate was about 22 laps today, based on what we've seen throughout the season.
Yeah, exactly. And so that extra weight there will have slowed him down at this point. But as you said, Justin, everything's starting to equalize here at this point as they go. As we watch the battle here, Nunez and Chin. Chin looked like he had a pretty good run there coming off of turn 11. Now they're going to flick down through 12 and 13. This is all high speed. This is where that draft is going to come into play.
Callan Chin looking for one of his best points days of the season. Not able to make the pass yet. Just waiting for his spots. Can't be over aggressive here, you'd have to think, because again, he's below the cut line.
Yeah, he just wants to pick up good points on the day here. And if Marco Nunez is going to give him that position, if Marcos is going to be able to open that door to him, rest assured, Chin's going to take it. But he's looking at a P8 here, and that may be enough to be able to jump him above the cut line going into the last round. And that is going to be factoring on the driver of the number 8.
Callan Chin, keep in mind, a multiple-time world record holder on the iRacing platform in multiple different types of open-wheel cars. Also a former driver in real life from Australia in go-kart racing across the South Pacific. Still not able to find his way up the right side to be able to get alongside Nunez. They are losing ground and fast again to Espes. 6 laps to go.
6 laps to go there, but
contact.
Yep.
Chin has hit the wall, and that may be costly. Left side tires, hard contact.
And it was just at the point that I was going to say there that Marcos Nunez looked like he was looking a little bit squirrely coming off of turn 11. That threw him off a little bit. Oh, and Justin, you've got news. Meatball flag.
Yes, indeed. And guess who? It's Jose Soria from second position. He had closed the gap to about 3 seconds. Now he has to come in for mandatory repairs. Something has happened in 11 with contact with the wall as he makes more of it.
Well, and look at that car lurching its way around the circuit. You can see it kind of crabbing there, coming in at a little bit of an angle. I've got to imagine that that's left side damage on the car there. You can see that steering just not exactly looking great. A lot of counter steer having to be provided.
Soria trying to stretch as long as he can. There is a small tilt to that left side of the wheel, you can tell with Soria, so that steering indeed is broken. I'm surprised he didn't come down right there.
I am too, frankly. He's going to have to serve that penalty here at this point. I believe it's 2 laps that he will have to come on in regardless. And at this point, he is bleeding time away.
So absolute disaster for Soria. Of no, Chin has gotten let go by the 4 of Marcos Nunez. So we'll see what happens here with Soria. He cannot make it to the end once again because the meatball flag has to come in the next 2 laps. 4 laps to go in this race. The best he can finish if he has to peel one in, regardless, is 9th. Everybody's on the lead lap.
Yeah, everyone on the lead lap here, and still 9th compared to some of the fields that we've had here. Not going to be a terrible result, but look at how squirrely that car is, applying the power coming off of the corners. Just the fact that Jose Soria is able to keep this car going is impressive. Is he going to come down? No, he's going to stay out for one more.
Yeah. And the reason I think staying here for so long is kind of important to mention here is he's still within 5 seconds of the leader. He's nearly matching their times outside of the skew down the straights. He's just that quick in the corners, it seems, despite the suspension damage and turtling down the straightaways.
That is a remarkable feat from Jose Soria. And remember here, he does have to serve this penalty. He has to, it's not a penalty, it is damage. He has to come down into pit lane on this lap.
Well, technically, it's a penalty to the people in the engine shop and the body shop to be able to fix that race car, because now they have to be able to put in the work, and you in turn have to put in the work to make sure that car is ready to go, so to speak, if this was the real world. Also, it becomes a penalty if you stay out one more lap, because then you get the disqualification flag for the sim. 3 to go this time by Michael Gianni and Gal Valero in turn to move to the podium, with Soria coming up here to either the DQ lap or the pit lap. It looks like he'll take the DQ lap.
Yeah, indeed he will here at this point, so he is going to keep on going on. Now, we have got to assume here in probably just a few corners' time that that car will be removed from the server. If you do not take that penalty, it will be a disqualification, as you said.
It's added more damage to the right side tires. For reference, Espes, Chin, and Nunez, the closest battle pack on the racetrack. Here's a look at them. This is currently for the 6th spot. Teammates now 6 and 7. Remember, Chin needs points. Does that play into a factor coming at 2 to go?
Well, let's see what he decides to do. I've got to think here at this point that Chin is probably going to be relatively confident to be in P7, but he's going to want to push here if he sees a little bit of an opportunity coming up ahead from Espes.
For reference, it's 3rd time around for Soria. But now it's Chin. Having some help from his new teammate. No, Espes actually holds on defensively. Well, that's a little welcome to the team almost. Espes not wanting to let Chin go.
I'm a little surprised by that. Espes is up in 9th place in the championship right now. There's got to be team communication between the two of them saying, hey, I need the points more than you do. But we'll have to see here. Maybe there's going to be team orders coming into this last 2 laps. Maybe not.
So now, see how this goes. Coming up to the white flag, by the way, this time by Wave Italy driver staying in a line. Marcos Nunez is the one major risk here. And keep in mind, if there's team play here, Marcos Nunez might just say, you know what, I'll pass by one of you to take the spot away.
Yeah, he very well might here at this point. And here it looks like it's not going to be team orders. It looks like Chin's going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. Going to go around the outside, down into turn 7, backs off a little bit, not able to get it to play. Going to go wide, trying to look for anything through the fountain.
Final lap now underway. Simone Maria Marcheno has taken the white flag. Final time around, 6 seconds the gap. Somehow, Soria is still in, and never mind, he's gotten the disqualification flag. So Gianni and Valero now to the podium. Sora now disqualified, this time by. This is now a battle for the top 5.
Yes, it is, and who's going to be able to hold on to it here at this point? Espes looks like he's got about 3-4 car lengths of an advantage, but the draft here coming off of turn 2 can be absolutely so strong. There you see a little bit of that patented dragon move that we are used to seeing, but I don't think he's going to need it too much. He's still got about a gap of about a car length.
Soria now has been officially been removed from the racetrack as a result of his disqualification. Still battling out Espes and Chin. No moves quite yet amongst this grouping. Chin looking for one more chance. How will things play out? Simone Maria Marcheno, meanwhile, is coming down the final straight, side by side for the 5th spot. Simone Maria Marcheno coming down the front straightaway will get the win. He gets it at Belle Isle in the 6th round of the GP Turn Racing iRacing qualifying series. All while the Wave Italy teammates still fighting tooth and nail for the top 5.
And Chin had a little bit of an opportunity there coming down through turn 9, but decided not to go for it. Big bit of rear tire spin there. I think that could cost him the opportunity.
Gianni and Valero making a 2-3 for Apex. Matt Emery charges back on the back end to 4th. Espes on team debut to the top 5 over Chin and Nunez. That's usually the only driver to have left to finish in this race in the top 8. Jose Soria, again disqualified, will have to finish in the 9th position as a result of not coming in to serve the mandatory damage. But it's Simone Maria Marcheno who picks up the victory, and Altus continues their speed domination in this qualifying series.
They are the team to beat without question, and they have proved it here again today. It wasn't the nearly dominant top of the pops performance that we saw last time out in Spa, but I'll tell you what, Altus has certainly shown here in the qualifying stage of this that they are the team to beat, and they are going to be the ones that put the target on their back.
So the cool down lap comes underway, a brand new podium for the entire top 3. First time podium runs for your entire grouping as we move towards your unofficial race results / official race results for the sim itself. Simone Maria Marcheno coming away with the victory, 13 seconds the final differential after the disqualification to Soria. Michael Gianni got Valero the top 3, Matt Emery, Pablo Espes, followed by Kalen Chin and Marcos Nunez. As you can see, the last driver on the lead lap, Soria, 1 lap down with a disqualification. Fazekas finishes with a DNF in the 10th position. Daniel Chevy Champo right behind them, needed points instead, finished in the wall, 16 laps down. Marco Sanfilippo, Xavi Ross, and Manuel Cubo Torres all DNF. For Ross and Torres, very bad luck. Just 1 lap apiece turned in their races today.
Yeah, and that just goes to show you being a little bit too aggressive here off the get-go at Belle Isle. We saw a couple of those problems that came through, but absolutely a fantastic run here for all of these drivers, and really, really impressive to see the likes of Marcheno, Gianni, and Valero. As we said, a new podium for this year.
Yes, indeed, as we welcome you into the booth here, joining us alongside Joey Atterbury. Joey, what did you think from your perspective as you launched along and kept an eye on how these drivers played it out today?
Well, I was expecting 2 curveballs the entire season, and one came at Pocono, where we had a new winner there, and the other one, the street circuit, Belle Isle, it just delivered. You look at the entire top 5, really the top 7 throughout the entire race. It was a different picture than what we've been used to seeing the entire season, so I think Detroit proved itself with a great race.
Yes, indeed, and when it comes to today as well, DJ, big when it comes to Simone Maria Marcheno, He's had the pace all season, but hasn't had necessarily some of the luck. This time, breaks through not just the first podium, the first win to join the rest of his teammates in victory lane.
Yeah, and think about that momentum that we're going to have here building into the final race of the season as well as building into the championship outright for Simone Maria Marcheno. That is going to be a big feather in the cap, and that's going to probably propel him a little bit forward, give him the courage and the confidence to make a few more good moves and be a little bit more aggressive, I think, when we come down the stretch.
Yeah, and that's going to be very big for some of the drivers, in particular, Kalen Shin. Had a solid race today, Joey, but needed points. Is this going to be enough? It's going to be the big question, especially with one race to go and needing to do it again next time.
I think the key word is what DJ just said, is momentum. You know, if you had a good race here today, take that momentum into the final round of Brands Hatch. So I'm looking at drivers like Kalen Chin, a huge day up there with a P6 finish. I'm also looking at Michael Janney. Remember, Michael Janney is just on the good side of the bubble there in P12, but with a second place finish today, that is some solid points for him.
We'll see how things break out indeed for the next time out. Keep in mind, the next time out when it comes to this respective series, we head back across the pond to Brands Hatch to close out the campaign. The GP layout 42 laps, August the 17th. You catch that here on FTF.gg. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye. For my colleagues in the booth today, GJ Clark and Joey Atterbury, for producer Zach Johnson, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching the GP Turn Racing iRacing qualifying series from iRacing's virtual Belle Isle Street Circuit.